It's easier to see in graphics. It's even hard to say it in words, but to see it in graphics, I think will be quite clear. Here, let's look at a couple of curves. The first one here, this is the benefit. So benefit as a function of quantity. So if the horizontal axis is quantity, which is number of units, let's say, and the side here is dollars, what's the total dollars? As we start selling, we're getting more and more volume in terms of benefits. However, see that it's got a slope to it. It's tapering off so that at some point, getting that next person to buy, you're going to sell it at a lower price. So this is setting the idea that price is not always fixed for every single person, that everyone has their price. And you might start off with higher price, get some sales, but over time you're going to have to trim prices in order to get more and more sales. So this is what causes this to have this curvature to it. Next is the cost. Again, starting at zero, as we have cost, there's a point at which our costs are rising, and that is because with every unit we have different economics. So this reflects that cost is not exactly variable, that we're going to hit a certain time where we can get some economies of scale, and at some times that we get some diseconomies of scale, right? So cost will change over time, also on a curve, not a straight line. So the area in between is profit. If this is revenue and this is cost, the difference, this whole area, is positive net benefits, or in other words, positive profit. However, notice that the size of the amount starts shrinking. So we're growing at a positive net benefit rate, but then here it starts slowing down to a point where we hit a break even, where selling that last one now tips us to make no money. So we have 3 points that I want to point out. Break even, we know what that means. That's when the benefits equal the cost. Then there's a top of the benefit curve, and this is the maximum total benefit or maximum total revenue. Notice that the profit is pretty small there because all along you're selling for a smaller and smaller price, and yet your costs are accelerating. So it's not really a good economic decision. So it turns out that this is the maximum point of profit. It's at this point right here because you can see the height of this line is highest at that point. It turns out that there is a mathematical depiction for what that represents, and that is using this whole idea of the slope or marginal benefit. It turns out that this point is determined mathematically where the slope of the marginal benefit is equal to the slope of the marginal cost. That's an important observation and allows us to solve mathematically to get that point. Instead of looking at a graph, trying to read what point it is on the axes, that's very imprecise. But if we can get a formula to represent the benefit and a formula to represent the cost, then we could actually derive mathematically with a high amount of precision what is the optimal point where we have maximum benefits. And that's part of what we do in econ, is we're trying to find those points, the optimal points that achieve our goals, in this case, net benefit or profit. Another way to look at it is let's graph not the components, but just the net benefits itself. So we're graphing the magnitude of this, right? The net benefits starting at zero, then expanding, and then it shrinks and shrinks, eventually gets to break even. The same thing happens here. It starts at zero, it grows and grows until it reaches that point of maximum profit, and then it declines for each incremental unit sold until it breaks even and potentially could even go below zero, but we're not really interested in that. We want to find this point where we have maximum profit or maximum net benefit. And that is determined by the slope. Now in this case, the slope is equal to zero because this is a horizontal line. It's the peak. Notice that to the left of it, you have a little bit more profit you can make by going right to the top of the mountain. And to the right of it, now you're making less money because you've passed the top of the mountain. So the top of the mountain represents where the slope of the marginal net benefit equals zero. So that is the precise mathematical point that we want to reach to get maximum profit.